She walked into that restaurant expecting nothing. A blind date, a courtesy, another empty conversation with another powerful man. But then she saw him, a 32-year-old widower holding the hand of a 5-year-old boy with eyes too old for his age. And something inside her broke open. He wasn't supposed to bring his son. She wasn't supposed to care. But when that little boy looked up at her and whispered, "Are you going to leave too?" Everything changed. This is the story of two people who built empires on loneliness, and one child who taught them how to feel again. If this story touched your heart, help us reach 1,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button right now. Your support keeps these emotional journeys alive. Don't let this be where our story ends. The restaurant existed in that rare space between opulence and intimacy, soft amber lighting, the kind of silence money buys. Amara Cole arrived 7 minutes early, a habit she'd perfected in boardrooms across 3 continents. At 29, she'd learned that power wasn't loud. It was the ability to make rooms hold their breath. She wore midnight blue. Simple. Devastating. Her natural hair crowned her like inherited royalty, each coil a declaration, each curve a sentence her ancestors had written into her DNA. African descent painted across high cheekbones and eyes that had stared down investors twice her age without flinching. This blind date was a favor, nothing more. Her grandmother's friend's nephew's business associate. The connections that built empires were sometimes wrapped in dinner invitations you couldn't refuse without causing ripples. She expected another tailored suit, another rehearsed smile, another man who'd spend 2 hours talking about his portfolio while his eyes calculated her net worth. She did not expect the child. The boy appeared first. 5 years old, maybe. Small hand gripping the edge of the table like it might disappear. Dark hair falling across his forehead. Eyes the color of winter mornings. Beautiful and impossibly sad. He wore a tiny blazer that someone had carefully buttoned. His shoes were polished to mirrors. Behind him, the father. 32, the file had said. CEO of the Han Corporation. Billionaire by inheritance and innovation. Korean, reserved, widowed. That last word had been in parentheses, like an afterthought, like grief was a footnote. Jaewon Han moved like water, smooth, deliberate, containing depths you couldn't see from the surface. Black suit that probably cost more than most cars. But it was his face that stopped her. Not handsome in the obvious way. Something quieter, more dangerous. The kind of beauty that lived in shadows and silences. Sharp jaw. Full lips pressed into a line that suggested he smiled rarely and meant it even less. But his eyes. God, his eyes. Dark and endless in carrying something that made her chest tighten without permission. "Ms. Cole." His voice was low. Midnight sounds. "Thank you for coming." His English was perfect, slightly accented, each word chosen carefully, like he'd learned early that language was another form of currency. "Mr. Han." She extended her hand. His grip was warm, brief, electric in ways that annoyed her. The boy hadn't moved, still gripping the table, still watching her with those ancient eyes. "This is Minjun." Jaewon's hand settled on his son's shoulder. Protective, gentle. "I apologize. His babysitter canceled last minute. I should have rescheduled." Should have, but didn't. There was a story there. Maybe several. Amara looked at the child. Really looked. Saw the careful way he stood, the tension in his small shoulders, the way he glanced at his father every few seconds like checking to make sure he was still there. Abandonment lived in bodies. She knew. She recognized. Minjun. She lowered herself slightly, meeting his eyes at his level. Years of negotiating had taught her. Power dynamics started with posture. "That's a beautiful name. Do you know what it means?" The boy blinked, surprised at being addressed directly. His lips parted, closed. He looked at his father. Jaewon's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Clever and handsome. His hand squeezed his son's shoulder. "Tell her what you like, Minjun." "Dinosaurs." The voice was barely a whisper. "And stars." "Dinosaurs and stars." Amara smiled, a real one, the kind she usually kept locked away during business dinners. "You have good taste, big things and beautiful things." Something flickered in Minjun's eyes. Not quite a smile, but close. a crack in the careful shell. They sat. The waiter materialized. Vanished. The dance of expensive dining. Jae-won ordered for his son without asking. Practiced, automatic. The movements of a man who'd been both father and mother for too long. Minjun sat between them, small and quiet, coloring on the paper menu the restaurant provided for children. I apologize again. Jae-won's fingers rested on his water glass. Long fingers. No wedding ring, but she could see the pale line where one used to live. This isn't how these evenings typically proceed. How do they typically proceed? She kept her voice light, curious, not accusatory. His eyes met hers, held, with pretense and calculation, with both parties performing the person they think the other wants to meet. Honest, unexpected, dangerous. And you're not performing tonight? I don't have the energy. He said it simply, like stating a fact. Minjun takes most of what I have. The company takes the rest. There's not much left for theater. The waiter returned, placed a small plate of fruit in front of Minjun, sliced strawberries arranged like a flower. The boy's face lit up. Actual joy. Brief and blinding and gone too fast. You did that, Amara observed. Called ahead. Requested his favorite. Jae-won's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes warmed. He doesn't ask for much, when I can give him something small. I do. They ate. The food was exquisite and forgettable. Between bites, Jae-won spoke carefully about his company, tech innovation, global expansion, the weight of legacy. But his attention kept drifting. To his son. Checking, making sure. Minjun ate slowly, methodically. At one point, he reached for his juice and knocked it over. The red liquid spread across white tablecloth like a wound. The boy froze. Absolute terror crossed his face. Small body rigid with fear. Minjun, Jae-won started, reaching for napkins. But Amara was faster. She grabbed her own water glass and deliberately, theatrically, knocked it over too, watched it splash, pool, merge with the juice. Well, she grinned at the boy. I guess we're both messy tonight. Minjun stared. Then, impossibly, the corners of his mouth lifted. Almost a smile. Almost. Jae-won stopped moving. Just. Stopped. And looked at her. Really looked. Like seeing something he hadn't expected. Something that hurt and healed simultaneously. The waiter cleaned up without judgment. Professional invisibility. When he left, the table felt different. The air between them. Charged somehow. Changed. He's afraid of making mistakes. Jae-won's voice was quieter now. Almost vulnerable. His mother, before she died, she was sick for a long time. Minjun learned to be very, very good. Very quiet. As if being perfect might make her stay. Amara's throat tightened. She knew about impossible bargains. About children who learned too young that the world was not safe. That love could leave. That being good was never good enough. How long has it been? She asked softly. 18 months. Cancer. Fast and cruel and thorough. 18 months. Still fresh. Still bleeding. Minjun had gone back to coloring, but his small shoulders were less tense now, his breathing steadier. And you? Amara met Jae-won's eyes. How are you? The question seemed to surprise him. When was the last time someone had asked? When was the last time he'd answered honestly? He paused, considered. Here, that's most days. Just here. Here. Present. Functioning. Surviving. Not quite living. She understood that too. The evening unfolded strangely. They talked less about business and more about small things. Minjun showed her his drawings. Dinosaurs with too many teeth, stars with uneven points. She admired each one with genuine attention. Jae-won watched them interact with an expression she couldn't read. Hunger, maybe, or hope. Or fear that hope was dangerous. When dessert came, Minjun fell asleep. Head on the table, one small hand still clutching his crayon. Exhausted by the simple act of being seen. I should go. Jae-won lifted his son carefully, practiced motions. The child didn't wake, just curled into his father's chest. Trust, complete. Thank you, Ms. Cole. For this. For what? For not leaving when she saw the child? For knocking over water? For seeing them? Amara. She stood. Call me Amara. He paused, Min Jun's head on his shoulder. Father and son, unit, unbreakable and so fragile. Amara. He tasted her name, careful, like something precious. I don't do this often, any of this, but if you wouldn't mind. Another dinner? She finished. Yes. Simple, honest, terrified. She should say no, should walk away from the complication, from the grief, from the child with ancient eyes and the father who looked at her like she was oxygen. She should. Yes, she heard herself say. I'd like that. Something in his expression cracked. Relief, fear, gratitude, too many things at once. He left carrying his son. She watched them go. The small body curled against the broad chest, the protective hand cradling a dark head, the slow, careful steps of a man carrying the only thing in the world that mattered. Amara sat back down, her dessert untouched, the restaurant still beautiful, still quiet, but something in her chest, something she'd carefully walled off years ago, had shifted, cracked, let light in, and she wasn't sure if that was wonderful or terrifying. Maybe both. Probably both. The second dinner happened 3 days later. No child this time. Just the two of them. Different restaurant. Same tension. Jae-won arrived exactly on time. Amara was already seated, a power move she'd learned young. Control the space, control the narrative. But when he walked in, she forgot about power plays, forgot about strategy. He wore charcoal gray, no tie, top button undone, like he'd decided formality was optional tonight. His hair was slightly messed, like he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. Nervous. The discovery pleased her more than it should. Amara. He said her name like a prayer, or a question. You came without your wingman. She gestured to the empty space beside him, a ghost of a smile. Min Jun is with my mother, she insisted. Said I needed to remember how to be human, not just a father. He sat across from her. Her words, not mine. Smart woman. Terrifying woman. But his eyes warmed. She raised me. Survived my father. Built half the Han Empire while he took all the credit. If there's strength in my bloodline, it came from her. They ordered. Wine this time. Deep red. She watched him taste it. The careful consideration, the slight nod. Everything he did was measured, controlled. Like he'd learned early that emotions were luxuries he couldn't afford. Tell me about your company. He leaned forward slightly. Interested. Actually interested. The file said you started at 23. Built it from nothing. The file? She raised an eyebrow. He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. My assistant. She's thorough. Thorough, Amara laughed. Is that what we're calling corporate espionage now? Research, he countered. There's a difference. And what did your research tell you? That you graduated top of your class, that you turned down 3 Fortune 500 offers to start your own tech consulting firm, that you're the youngest Black woman to reach CEO level in your sector, that Forbes called you the voice of the future last year. He paused. That you're brilliant and ruthless and somehow still have a reputation for treating your employees like family. You memorized my resume. I memorized the impressive parts. His eyes held hers. I'm sure the file didn't include the interesting parts. Oh, and what would those be? Why you started your company, what drives you, what keeps you awake at 3 a.m. He tilted his head slightly. Who hurt you badly enough that you decided safety only existed in success? The observation landed like a blade. Precise, cutting, true. That's not in any file. Her voice was carefully neutral. No, he agreed. But it's in your eyes. I recognize it. I see it in my mirror every morning. God, when was the last time someone had seen her? Actually seen her? My father, she heard herself say, offering truth for truth. He left when I was 7, walked out and never looked back. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. I watched her break herself on the altar of survival. I decided young that I would never be that vulnerable, that I would build something so solid, No one could take it away. And did you? I built an empire. She said it without arrogance, just fact. But empires are lonely places. Yes, just that. Yes, understanding without explanation. The food arrived. They ate slowly. The conversation flowed easier now, rivers finding their path. He told her about Minjun's nightmares, how the boy still crawled into his bed most nights, small body seeking warmth and proof that his father wouldn't disappear too. She told him about her mother's death 2 years ago. Cancer, like his wife. How grief was a country they both spoke fluently. Minjun asked about you, Jaewon said between bites. Yesterday, at breakfast, he wanted to know if the pretty lady who spilled juice was coming back. He called me pretty? He called you nice. Jaewon's lips curved, almost a smile. The pretty part was my observation. Heat. Sudden and unexpected. She felt her cheeks warm. When was the last time she'd blushed? Careful, Mr. Han. She kept her voice light. That almost sounded like flirting. I'm out of practice, he admitted. It's been a while. How long? Since before she got sick. Maybe even before that. We were young when we married. Arrangement, really. Families with expectations. We grew to care for each other, built a life, had Minjun, but love. He paused, choosing words carefully. Love was quiet between us, comfortable, safe, not this. This. The word hung between them, heavy, loaded, dangerous. This, she echoed. His eyes met hers. Dark and depthless, and full of things he wasn't saying. This feeling like I'm standing at the edge of something I don't understand. This wanting to know everything about you. This fear that if I blink, you'll disappear. He exhaled slowly. This. Her heart forgot how to beat properly, just forgot. I scare you, she said softly. Terrify me, he corrected. You make me want things I thought I'd buried with her. You make me feel selfish and hopeful and utterly unprepared. His fingers drummed once against the table. Nervous energy. I have a son who barely speaks. A company that demands everything. A heart that's still learning how to beat without guilt. I'm not. I'm not a good bet, Amara. I didn't ask for your odds. She reached across the table, slowly, giving him time to pull away. Her fingers brushed his. I asked for dinner. He turned his hand over, palm up, let her touch settle, her dark skin against his golden tone. Contrast, compliment, perfect and impossible. My mother will want to meet you, he said quietly. If this continues, she'll have opinions, lots of them, loud ones. About me being black? Direct question. She needed to know. About you being, you, successful, strong, American, someone who won't bow or bend or play games she understands. He squeezed her hand gently. The black part? She won't care. She married a man whose family disowned him for choosing her over their approval. She knows about loving across lines that people draw, but she will test you, push, see if you're strong enough to handle me, handle us. Us, she repeated. You and Minjun. Yes, no hesitation. We're a package. I won't. I can't separate those parts of my life. He's been hurt enough. If you're not ready for that. I'm ready. The words came faster than thought. Instinct, truth. I don't know what I'm ready for exactly, but I know I want to find out. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Absent, soothing, electric. You should run. I'm complicated. He's traumatized. There are easier paths. I didn't build my empire by choosing easy. She smiled. I chose possible. And this. She gestured between them. This feels possible. They stayed until the restaurant dimmed its lights, talking, touching hands across the table like teenagers, learning each other in small doses, favorite books, worst fears, childhood dreams that got lost somewhere between ambition and survival. When they finally stood to leave, he walked her to her car. Black Mercedes. Sleek. Powerful. Like her. Amara. He stopped her before she could open the door. Stood close. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. Smell his cologne. Something expensive and understated. I want to do this right. Slowly. I want. I want to deserve you. You don't have to deserve me. She tilted her head up. He was taller. She hadn't noticed before. You just have to be honest with me. I'm terrified, he said simply. Of wanting you. Of letting Minjun get attached. Of building something that might break us all if it falls apart. Then we build it carefully. Her hand rose, settled against his chest. His heart beat under her palm, rapid, strong. We build it strong. He covered her hand with his, held it there. You're extraordinary. I'm practical, she countered, and patient, and surprisingly good with children who collect dinosaurs and stars. That almost smile again. He told my mother you understood about the stars, that they're not just pretty. They're proof that beautiful things can exist in darkness. Her throat tightened. He said that? He's 5. But he feels everything. Jaewon's free hand rose, hesitated, then carefully, softly, tucked a curl behind her ear. Like his father. The touch sent electricity down her spine. Simple, devastating. Everything. Jaewon. His name on her lips. First time. It tasted like possibility. Yes? Kiss me or don't. But stop looking at me like you're drowning and I'm air. His breath caught. I am drowning. Then breathe. He leaned down, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His lips brushed hers, soft, questioning, careful. She answered by rising on her toes, pressing closer, turning the question into a statement. The kiss deepened. His hand slid into her hair. Her arms wound around his neck. They kissed like people who'd been holding their breath for years, and finally remembered how to exhale. When they pulled apart, both were trembling. That was, he started. Dangerous, she finished. Completely dangerous. Yes. He rested his forehead against hers. And I want to do it again. Not tonight. She made herself step back. Tonight you go home to your son, and I go home and remember how to breathe normally. And tomorrow? Tomorrow you introduce me to Minjun properly. No restaurant, no performance, just us. Fear flickered across his face. Then resolve. Okay, yes, tomorrow. She got in her car. He stepped back, watched her drive away. In the rearview mirror, she saw him standing there, perfectly still, perfectly alone, perfectly beautiful in the parking lot lights. And she thought, I'm going to fall in love with this man. The thought didn't scare her as much as it should have. Tomorrow arrived wrapped in autumn sunlight and anxiety. Amara changed outfits 3 times before forcing herself to stop. Jeans, soft sweater, minimal jewelry. She wasn't meeting investors. She was meeting a 5-year-old who needed to know she was safe. Real. Staying. The Han residence sat in the hills outside the city. Modern architecture, all glass and clean lines and views that cost more than most countries' GDP. But as the gates opened and she drove up, she saw something unexpected. A tire swing. Colorful chalk drawings on the pristine driveway. A small basketball hoop set deliberately low. Jaewon met her at the door, barefoot, jeans and a gray Henley. Hair slightly damp like he'd just showered. Casual, devastating, human in ways his suits never allowed. You came. Relief in his voice. Did you think I wouldn't? I thought you might come to your senses. He stepped aside. Let her enter. The house was beautiful, minimalist, elegant, clearly designed by someone with impeccable taste. But there were signs of life everywhere. Minjun's tiny shoes by the door, drawings on the refrigerator, a half-built Lego castle spreading across the living room floor. Minjun is nervous, Jaewon said quietly. He's been asking questions all morning. Whether you remember him, whether you're really coming, whether you'll stay. Will I stay? His eyes held hers. I hope so. A sound from the stairs. They both turned. Minjun descended slowly, one small hand gripping the railing, the other clutching a toy dinosaur. He wore a tiny button-up shirt. Someone had combed his hair carefully. He looked terrified and hopeful in equal measure. Hi, Minjun. Amara lowered herself to his level. Patient. Calm. Remember me? The lady who spilled juice? Small nod. those enormous eyes studying her face like memorizing every detail. I brought you something. She pulled out a small wrapped box. Your dad said you like stars. Minjun looked at his father. Jaewon nodded permission. Small hands unwrapped carefully, like gifts were precious, not guaranteed. Inside, a book. The Star Child. Illustrated. Beautiful. It's about a boy who learns that darkness makes stars possible. Amara explained softly. That beautiful things can exist, even in sad places. Minjun's fingers traced the cover. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Thank you. Barely a whisper. She felt her heart crack open. You're welcome, sweetheart. Can you read it? He glanced at his father. Is that okay? Of course. Jaewon's voice was rough, emotional. They settled on the couch, Minjun between them, the book open on his lap. Amara read slowly, adding voices, pausing for his reactions. The boy leaned gradually closer until his small shoulder pressed against her side. Trust. Tentative, but real. Jaewon watched them. She felt his gaze like warmth, like something breaking and healing simultaneously. When the story ended, Minjun looked up. My mom used to read to me. Statement. Not sad, just true. But she got too tired, and then she left. Amara's throat closed. I'm sure she didn't want to leave you. I know. He clutched his dinosaur. Daddy explained she was sick. It wasn't her choice, but... His small face crumpled. But I miss her. And sometimes I forget what she sounded like. And that makes me feel bad. Oh, Minjun. Amara's arm went around him instinctively. Forgetting sounds doesn't mean forgetting love. Your heart remembers even when your ears don't. He buried his face against her shoulder. Didn't cry. Just breathed. Held on. Let himself be small. Over his head, her eyes met Jaewon's. His face was raw, open, looking at her like she'd performed a miracle instead of just being kind. Later, after Minjun fell asleep on the couch, his head in her lap and his dinosaur clutched close, Jaewon carried him upstairs. She waited, looking at the drawings on the fridge. Family portraits in crayon, 2 stick figures, one small, one large. No mother, just empty space where she used to stand. He hasn't done that in months. Jaewon returned, stopping at the bottom of the stairs. Fallen asleep that peacefully. Let someone hold him who isn't me or my mother. He's processing, learning that people can be safe. You're good with him. Not a question, observation, wonder. I'm good with broken things. She turned to face him. I understand them. Because you've been broken? Because I've been carefully reassembled. She moved closer. There's a difference between broken and healing, Jaewon. I think both of you are healing. You just needed someone to see that. He reached for her, pulled her close. No kiss, just holding, his face buried in her hair, her arms around his waist, both of them breathing like they'd run miles. I'm falling for you. He whispered against her temple. Too fast. Too hard. I know it's impossible. I know there are 1,000 reasons to slow down. But I'm falling and I don't want to stop. Then don't. She held him tighter. Fall. I'll catch you. What if I break you? What if you don't? They stood like that. Minutes, hours, time irrelevant. 2 people who'd built fortresses learning that maybe, just maybe, walls could come down without everything collapsing. His phone buzzed. Reality. He pulled back slightly. Checked. His expression shifted, tension flooding back. Work? My mother. He exhaled slowly. She wants to meet you. Tomorrow. Dinner at her place. He looked almost apologetic. She's not subtle. Should I be worried? Terrified. But his lips curved slightly. She'll interrogate you, test you, try to find cracks. It's what she does. Protecting me is her religion. I can handle protective mothers, Amara assured him. I've faced hostile boardrooms. One determined Korean matriarch should be manageable. His laugh was brief, surprised. You have no idea what you're agreeing to. Then I'll learn. She cupped his face, made him look at her. I'm not running, Jaewon. Not from you, not from Minjun, not from complicated mothers or grief or whatever else comes. I'm here. present, choosing this. Why? The question was raw, vulnerable. Why choose this mess? Because mess is real. She kissed him softly. Because perfect is boring. Because when I'm with you and Minjun, I remember what it feels like to want something more than success. Another kiss, longer, deeper. Because you look at me like I'm both the question and the answer. You are. He kissed her back, slowly, thoroughly. God help me, you are. They made dinner together. Simple pasta, vegetables, nothing fancy. Moved around the kitchen like they'd done this before. Easy, natural. He told her about the company, the pressure, the expectation to be perfect when he felt perpetually fractured. She told him about her team, the challenges of being young and black and female in spaces that wanted her to be none of those things. Do you ever get tired? He asked. Of being strong all the time? Every day. Honest. But strength isn't about never breaking. It's about choosing to stand back up. And if I can't? Some days I can barely get out of bed. Some days, if it weren't for Minjun needing me, I'd— But you do, she interrupted gently. You get up. You show up. You're here. That's not weakness. That's courage. His eyes closed. I don't feel courageous. No one ever does. She moved behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist, rested her cheek against his back. Courage feels like fear that keeps moving forward anyway. They ate on the couch, talked until the sky darkened and stars emerged. At some point, she laid her head on his shoulder. His arm came around her. Natural. Right, like their bodies had been designed to fit this way. Stay, he murmured into her hair. Tonight. Not anything. Just stay. Sleep in the guest room. Have breakfast with us. Let Minjun wake up and know you didn't leave. Okay. Okay? Surprised. Hopeful. Okay. She stayed, slept in soft sheets that smelled like lavender, woke to small footsteps outside her door. Minjun's whisper, She's still here, Daddy. Jaewon's voice equally soft. Yes, she's still here. Do you think she'll stay? A pause. Then, I hope so, Minjun. I really hope so. She pressed her hand over her mouth, kept herself from making sound, let them have their moment, but her cheeks were wet, and her heart was no longer hers. It belonged to a widower who carried grief like a second skin, and a little boy who collected stars and believed beautiful things could exist in darkness. She'd fallen, and she wasn't afraid anymore. Mrs. Han's penthouse existed in another dimension of wealth, traditional Korean art beside modern sculptures, silk screens reflecting in floor-to-ceiling windows. The woman herself was formidable. 70 years old, spine straight as steel, eyes that could calculate your net worth and moral fiber in a single glance. So, she studied Amara over green tea served in cups worth more than cars. You're the one making my son remember he's human. Jaewon shifted beside Amara, uncomfortable. Mother, hush. Mrs. Han waved dismissively. I'm talking to her, not you. Back to Amara. You run a company. Built it yourself. No family money. No husband's name opening doors. Not questions, statements. She'd done her research. Impressive, rare. Tell me, what do you want from my son? Honestly? Amara met her eyes. Didn't flinch. I don't know yet. I know I care about him. I know Minjun deserves stability. I know I'm not here for money or status or whatever else you're worried about. Everyone wants something. I want him to smile without guilt. Simple, true. I want Minjun to believe people stay. I want to see if what we're building can survive reality. Mrs. Han's expression shifted. Microscopic. But Amara saw it. Approval. Tentative. Hard won. My son loved his wife. The older woman's voice softened slightly. But it was a gentle love. Safe. What I see when he looks at you. She paused, sipped tea. It's not safe. It's the kind of love that transforms, destroys, rebuilds. Are you prepared for that? No, Amara admitted. But I'm willing to learn. Silence. Long. Waited. Then Mrs. Han smiled. Small. Real. Good. Honesty is rarer than diamonds. She stood. Min Jun speaks of you constantly. The pretty lady who understands stars. High praise from a child who trusts no one. He's easy to care about. He's broken. Blunt. So is my son. You're walking into a house full of grief. It will test you. Hurt you. Make you question everything. I know. And still you stay? And still I stay. Mrs. Han moved to the window, soul spread below like a circuit board of lights. My husband's family disowned him for marrying me. I was too strong, too opinionated, not submissive enough. She turned back. I learned then, love requires courage more than compatibility. If you're going to love my son, do it bravely. Don't apologize. Don't shrink. He needs someone who won't break under the weight he carries. I won't break. No. Mrs. Han studied her. Really looked. I don't think you will. Dinner was elaborate. Traditional Korean dishes alongside Western fare. Min Jun arrived halfway through, brought by Mrs. Han's assistant. His face lit up seeing Amara. Pure joy. Uncomplicated. You're here! He climbed into the chair beside her. Grandma said you might not come. I promised I would. Amara touched his hair gently. And I keep my promises. Something in Jaewon's expression cracked. He looked away quickly, composed himself. But she'd seen it. The fear, the hope, the desperate wish to believe. After dinner, Min Jun showed her his grandmother's koi pond, explained each fish's name and personality with 5-year-old seriousness. Jaewon and his mother watched from the terrace. She's good for you, Mrs. Han observed quietly. Makes you remember you're alive. I'm terrified, Jaewon admitted. Good. Terror means it matters. She squeezed his shoulder. Your father and I, we were terrified, but we built something beautiful anyway. Give yourself permission to do the same. What if I fail? What if I hurt her? Hurt Min Jun? What if you don't? His mother countered. What if this is exactly what you all need? By the pond, Min Jun had fallen asleep against Amara's shoulder. She held him carefully, naturally, like she'd been doing it forever. Jaewon came down, lifted his son gently. The boy didn't wake, just curled into familiar arms. Thank you, he told Amara. For tonight, for surviving my mother, for being you. She's wonderful, Amara stood. Terrifying, but wonderful. She likes you. That's... He exhaled. That's everything. They stood in the garden, night air cool, city lights distant, Min Jun sleeping between them like a bridge. I should tell you. Jaewon's voice dropped. There will be press, eventually, speculation. My life isn't private. Dating again, especially someone like you, it will be news. Someone like me? Successful, American, black, beautiful. He said it simply. The media will have opinions, some ugly, some invasive. I won't let them hurt you, but I can't stop them completely. I can handle media, she assured him. I've been underestimated my whole life. Let them talk. His free hand found hers, squeezed. You're extraordinary. I'm stubborn, she corrected. There's a difference. He laughed, quiet, real. The sound made her chest warm. Take us home? She suggested softly. Us. The word included them all. She'd said it without thinking, but she meant it. His eyes closed briefly. When they opened, they were wet. Yes, let's go home. The article appeared 3 weeks later. Page 6. Celebrity gossip. But the headline was brutal. Han Hare's new romance. CEO widower dating American businesswoman. Too soon. Amara's phone exploded. Her assistant. Her board. Friends she hadn't spoken to in months. Everyone had opinions, advice, warnings. Jaewon called immediately. I'm sorry. I knew it would happen, but... It's fine, she interrupted, calm. She'd expected this. They got my company name right. Free publicity. They're saying things. About you. About us. Some are. He couldn't finish. Racist? She supplied. Yeah, I saw. What's a successful African-American woman doing with a Korean widower? As if love has demographic requirements. His silence was heavy. Then, this is what I was afraid of. You don't deserve this. Neither do you. Neither does Minjun. She softened. But we knew it wouldn't be simple. We chose complicated anyway. Did we choose right? Do you want to stop? Direct question. She needed to know. No. Immediate. Certain. God, no. I want to wake up next to you. I want Minjun to have breakfast with both of us. I want to build something real. But I don't want to hurt you. Then don't let this hurt us. Simple. True. We control the narrative. We live our truth. Let them talk. His exhale was shaky. When did you become so brave? When I met a man who made me want to be. She smiled even though he couldn't see. We're okay, Jaewon. We're going to be okay. But that night, at a company event, she felt the stares, heard the whispers. That's her. The one dating the Han heir. Wonder what he sees in her. Subtle, cutting, designed to make her doubt. She kept her spine straight, her smile professional. Refused to give them ammunition. Jaewon appeared at her office the next morning, unannounced. He looked like he hadn't slept, hair disheveled, tie crooked, eyes desperate. What happened? She stood immediately. Minjun saw the article. His voice broke. Not the words, but our pictures. Someone at his school, a parent, said something. Asked if his new mom was the black lady from the news. He ran hands through his hair. He came home asking questions, confused, scared, wanting to know if you were leaving because people were being mean. Amara's heart stopped. Oh God. I tried to explain that people sometimes say ugly things, that it doesn't change what's real between us. But he's 5. He doesn't understand why strangers care who we love. Jaewon's hands were shaking. I won't let this hurt him. If continuing this means he suffers, stop. She moved around her desk, cupped his face, made him focus. We don't make decisions from fear. We protect him by showing him love doesn't break under pressure. By teaching him that other people's ugliness doesn't define our beauty. And if they keep coming, if it gets worse, then we stand together. She kissed him, soft, sure. You, me, and Minjun, united front. Let them see that family isn't about matching skin tones or meeting expectations. It's about choosing each other every single day. His forehead dropped to hers. I love you, whispered, raw. I love you, and it terrifies me. I love you too. First time saying it, it felt like jumping off a cliff. And yeah, it's terrifying. They held each other in her office, professional space witnessing something wholly unprofessional, wholly necessary. Come home with me tonight. He pulled back slightly. Have dinner, put Minjun to bed. Stay, let him see you there in the morning. Let him know you're not scared away. Okay. That evening felt like a threshold. Minjun was quiet at first, watching her carefully, testing. She didn't push, just existed beside him, helped with homework, read stories, was present. At bedtime, he looked up at her. Are you my daddy's girlfriend? Jaewon tensed, but Amara answered simply, yes. Is that okay with you? Will you leave? Small voice, huge fear. Not if I can help it. Honest. I care about you, and your dad. A lot. Even though people are mean? Especially then. She brushed hair from his forehead. Mean people don't get to decide who I love. Love? His eyes went wide. Yeah. She glanced at Jaewon. He was barely breathing. Love. Minjun considered this. Then, okay, you can stay. Permission. From a 5-year-old who'd learned too young that nothing was permanent. After he slept, she and Jaewon sat in the living room. Close. Not speaking, just being. This is hard, he finally said. Harder than I expected. Yes, but I don't want to stop. Neither do I. Even if it gets worse? Even then. He kissed her, deep, desperate, grateful. Then we fight, together. Together. She agreed. And somewhere in that moment, between one breath and the next, they stopped being two separate people navigating separate grief. They became us. Complicated, messy, imperfect, real. And somehow, that was enough. 6 months later, Minjun called her Mara now, his version of her name, his way of claiming her. He slept better. laughed, actual, unself-conscious joy that filled their home like light. Tonight, Jaewon had asked her to move in. "I don't want to wait anymore," he'd said over dinner. "I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want us to be an actual family." "What if we fail?" she'd tested. "Then we fail together." Simple, sure. "But I don't think we will." She'd said yes. Her phone buzzed. Text from Jaewon. "Minjun keeps asking when you're coming home." He reorganized his room to make space for Mara's things. Home. When had his house become home? When Minjun fell asleep on her lap during movie nights. When Jaewon kissed her goodbye like she was oxygen. When she stopped thinking mine and started thinking ours. She arrived to find Minjun waiting at the door. He launched himself at her. "You're here, forever." "Forever," she promised. "I'm not going anywhere." Jaewon stood watching. His expression, love, relief, hope. He mouthed, "Thank you." She mouthed back, "Always." Later, after Minjun slept, they stood in their bedroom. "No regrets?" he asked quietly. "None." She turned into his arms. "You?" "Only that I didn't find you sooner." He kissed her softly. "But maybe we needed to be broken first, to appreciate what we're building now." "A new empire," she whispered. "Not of money or power, but of love." Second chances, brave choices. "The best kind," he agreed. Two people who'd survived loss, learning to embrace possibility. A man who'd forgotten hope. A woman who'd never let herself need. A child who'd learned that sometimes people stay. Outside, stars filled the sky. Inside, they built their constellation. One brave moment at a time. The end. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about finding someone who makes your imperfections make sense, who sees your broken parts and says, yes, this all of it. Jaewon, Amara, and Minjun didn't find easy. They found real. And real, it turns out, is worth fighting for.